Croeso pawb to the PS Plus double discount sale. Now before we continue, if you don't have PS Plus, this sale's not for you, so I wouldn't bother unless you're just interested in what's available. The last day of this sale is the 30th of September, so if you're too late, skip this video. Anyway, let's look at the games. The first game we've got to look at is A Plague Tale: Innocence. It was released in 2019, it makes it only 1 year old, and it's on a 68% discount for £14.39. That's not amazingly cheap, but at this stage you're not going to get a better price. You're going to have to wait a year or two for the price to drop further than that, I would have thought. This game got rave reviews when it came out, and it generally is really thought of very well by people who reviewed it. You play a brother and sister running for their lives. It's a survival horror game where you're dodging rats and people and scenarios, trying to get to safety. So if you're looking for a good narrative survival horror game, this might be something for you until the next Resident Evil or something similar comes along in the future. Look who's back, Dead Island, but this time they're both in one package for us in the definitive edition. It was released in 2016, 4 years old, but again, you know this by now, they're older games remastered and re-released, so they're older than that by quite a bit. They're on an 80% discount for $3.99. That's really cheap for 2 games. That's £2 each. That's cheaper than they were in the last sale, and probably as cheap as they're ever going to be. These games are amazing. They're a zombie survival horror where you're stuck on an island resort and you have to fight your way to freedom. It's got a really cool weapon system where you can pick up and use things until they break, and then you can find more things and combine them into new weapons. Both games are cooperative, online and offline, but the second one is geared more towards 4-player co-op. So if you've got friends to play these with, they're even better. If you're looking for something to play with friends, or you just like zombie games and you want something else to fill the gap until the next one comes along, this is really the best option you're going to have right now. Dishonored II is the next game we're looking at. It was released in 2016, which makes it 4 years old, and it's on a 50% discount right now for $7.99, which is a pretty decent price. Now it's a sequel, so you might be missing out on some story elements, but if you're willing to ignore that, this is a pretty good game at a pretty good price. It's a first-person action-adventure with stealth elements. The game offers a host of supernatural abilities for you to use. These include things like stopping time or blinking from one place to another. They're really cool and add a lot to the game, but also they're optional, so you can play the game completely without them. And that option is built into the story, which is really cool, I think. So if you're looking for a story-driven action-adventure game, and you don't mind there is a sequel and you may be missing out on some story elements, or you played the first game and you never bought the second one, this is a really good option to look at right now. You may even go back and play the first one if you end up enjoying this one. Check it out. And the next game we have is Erika. It was released in 2019, so it's only a year old, and it's on a 50% discount for £4.49. That's so cheap, it's probably not going to get cheaper than that, so if you do want this game, now's as good a time as any. Erika is an FMV based game, which basically means it's like watching a TV show, but you get to make decisions as you play through it or watch it, and then it changes the outcome and storylines based on those decisions. These games are usually designed for you to play multiple times so that you can make different decisions, see different paths and different outcomes and results of those decisions. They're pretty fun, they're pretty relaxed. If you like these sorts of games, this is probably the newest one available on PlayStation 4 right now, and it's really cheap. If you're in any way interested in this, then I really don't have to sell it to you. It's an easy purchase at this price and you'll love it. And if you haven't played games like this before, at this price, it's worth taking a shot just to see if you like them. You'll probably have a good time even if you decide to never play these sorts of games again. I would definitely take a look at it, it looks fun. Next we have my favourite golfing franchise, Everybody's Golf. It was released in 2017, so it's 3 years old. It's on a 70% discount right now for £8.99. Now I love Everybody's Golf. I basically see it like a copy of Mario Golf. So if you like Mario Golf, or you used to like Mario Golf, this is pretty much the equivalent on a system that's not made by Nintendo. For everyone else, don't be looking for a simulation. This is not a simulation game. You're not going to get authentic golf clubs, kits, players, tournaments. But if you're just looking for a golf game, these are amazing and they're fun. And you can tell they're good because they've been around forever and people keep buying them and just have so much fun with them. I will say though, if you've got a VR set, you shouldn't buy this. You should buy the VR version, which is on sale right now but won't be for much longer. But I would definitely pick that over this if you've got a VR headset. That is the quintessential way to play these games, so keep that in mind. But if you don't have a VR headset and you like golf games, buy this now. It really is good and it's a decent price. And now we're visiting a legendary franchise, Ghostbusters, the video game remastered. It was released in 2019, so it was only 1 year old, but it is a remaster of an old 360 PS3 game, so it's way older than that really. It's on a 60% discount for £9.99, which is a pretty decent price, and I don't think it's going to get hugely lower than that unless they lower the price a little bit or there's a massive discount at some point. This is basically the best Ghostbusters game that was ever made. When it was first released, it was billed as the story that they would have used for the third movie that never happened. So if you're a Ghostbusters fan and you wanted to see what would have happened if they made a third movie, this is what you need to buy. It really is. It's got all of the actors. The story was written by the original writers. The jokes are written by the original writers. This is basically the third movie, but in game format. And it's quite fun to play. I played it a long time ago. I completed it. I really enjoyed it. It's not going to be the most modern of gameplay experiences now, but you're not going to get a better Ghostbuster experience anywhere else on the planet. Take a look at this. Even if you've got only a tiny bit of interest in Ghostbusters, you'll have a lot of fun. Just remember though, never cross the streams. Next we have another quite new game, Greedfull. It was released in 2019, so it's only a year old. It's on a 66% discount right now for £15.29. That's pretty much as cheap as you're going to get it around about now. Again, with this game, if you want it cheaper, you're going to have to wait a year or so and look for later sales. This game was reviewed pretty well. It's a really good action role-playing game. It's got a really cool fantasy 17th century setting as well, so all the clothes and the environments look really cool. And they've put a lot of effort into your companions that you bring along with you on this journey. You can pick up a lot of them, they've all got their own opinions and agendas, and your actions and decisions throughout the game affect the way they behave with you, and their actions that they take as a result of that. Characters may get angry with you, turn against you. There's a lot of things that will be unique to your game based on your gameplay. And that doesn't even include all the rest of the game with the different skill sets and talent trees that allow you to approach situations differently. You know, you might be able to sneak in one place, go guns blazing in another. There's a lot of options to you. If you love RPGs with decent stories and gameplay mechanics, you can't go far wrong with this. Check it out, you probably won't go far wrong with this at all if you in any way enjoy RPG games. The next game is probably my most anticipated game of the last couple of years, Kingdom Come Deliverance Royal Edition. It was released 1 year ago in 2019, so it's still pretty new. It's on a 56% discount right now for £15.39. Now, that's not an amazingly cheap price, but this is the Royal Edition, which includes £15.99 worth of DLC. That means you get all the story DLC included, so at this price, that's a steal, it really is. This is an amazing game, I have to say that as well. It's got a medieval setting, it was designed by a company that wanted historical accuracy, which means the places are real, the buildings are real, the lifestyle, everything. They based it in as much of history as they could. The game is a story-driven action-adventure game where you play as a young boy who becomes a squire and what happens around his life and his reaction to that. If you in any way love medieval stuff, King Arthur, anything like that, this is essential for you. Seriously look at this. It's one of the best games that has come out for years. It really is. Check it out, even if you're not sure. It just may be the best game you've ever played that you've never heard of. Okay, so hear me out with this next one. Knack is the next game. It came out in 2013. It was a launch title, 7 years old. It's on a 70% discount for £4.79, which is pretty cheap, and it's probably not going to get cheaper. Now I know what you're thinking. This game was laughed at when it came out. The launch game for PS4, look how rubbish it is. It's for kids. Blah 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 blah. The thing is, this game was loved by the people that played it. They said it was actually good. So if you like old school action platformers, or you've got a kid that you'd like to buy a cheap game for, this is a really good option. And I know a lot of people are laughing at that, but make the decision yourself. If you like games like this, you'll know it, and you'll definitely have fun picking this one up. Give it a chance, you just might be surprised. Back to more modern games for the next one, Metro Exodus. It was released in 2019, so it's only a year old. It's on a 60% discount right now for £13.99. Now that's not that cheap, but it is new, which means I give it a bit of leeway with price. It's the third game in a franchise of really good first-person shooters. The first two were set in the Russian underground, but this third game takes it above ground for the entire game. You'll be riding a train along a railway and encountering different settlements and areas along the way. It's a really solid first-person shooter, and it's a really interesting setting. The world is really good. It's based on a series of books, so you might want to check them out if you want to know more. But this is a really good first-person shooter from a really good franchise and a good games company. Check it out if you're looking for a first-person shooter. Persona 5 Ultimate Collection is our next game. It was released in 2017, so it's 3 years old. It's on an 80% discount for £14.99. That's a huge discount, but it's still quite a high price. Now, I haven't played Persona and I don't really know too much about it, other than it's a beloved franchise that a load of people love. Now, from what I gather, this Ultimate Edition includes a lot of stuff, but it's mainly cosmetics and stuff that's insignificant to the gameplay or the story. So I'd say this is one for the diehards really. If you love Persona and you haven't bought it yet, and you want all this stuff, then this is for you. But I think that's a very small niche in general. This is probably not for everyone else, but if you're a diehard Persona fan and you don't have this, it's probably something you're going to want to pick up at this price. We're going old school again with the Resident Evil Deluxe Origins bundle. Released in 2016, it's 4 years old, but these are HD remasters of very old games, so they're way older than that, like think 90s old. They're on a 76% discount for £7.19, which isn't ridiculously cheap, but considering you get 2 full games, it's probably worth it, especially if you're a Resident Evil fan. This bundle includes the HD remaster of Resident Evil, the original game that started this franchise of zombie horror survival that's still going today, and it also includes Resident Evil 0, which is also remastered. And if I remember correctly, it was a GameCube only exclusive back in the day, so I'd expect more people to have played the first game than 0. If you're a fan of Resident Evil, and you've never played the originals, this is your chance to go back in time and see what it was all about back in the 90s. And if you're an old school Resident Evil fan, and you haven't played these in a while, why not pick them up? I'm sure you'll have a lot of fun. Either way, they're great value and definitely worth checking out if you love survival horror games. Sticking with the old school franchises, the next game is Shadow of the Tomb Raider Definitive Edition. Released in 2019, it's only a year old, and it's got a good discount, 70% for $14.99. Now I know what you're thinking, $14.99 isn't that cheap, and you're right, but this is the Definitive Edition, which means it includes 7 DLC tombs worth £27.93. Let that sink in. The DLC it includes is worth double what the price is for the entire package. And that's without even considering all the cosmetics that are thrown in as well. This is the third and final game of the Tomb Raider franchise that revitalized recently, and they're amazing. If you like action-adventure games, if you picked up the first one or the second one and loved them, this is more of the same. They're a good trilogy, they're a good franchise, they're a lot of fun to play. I really recommend them, especially if you love Uncharted and you've already played them and you're looking for something else similar. This is the next best thing to Uncharted, and even in some cases probably gives it a run for its money, but it's definitely ripped a lot off from the Uncharted series. Check it out. The next game we're looking at is a bit of a maybe. It's the Bards Tale 4 Director's Cut. It was released in 2019, so it's only a year old, but it's got a good discount, 74% off for £9.09. This is a very old school genre. It's a first-person dungeon crawler. Now, if you don't know what that is, that probably means you won't be interested. But if you're an old school gamer and you like those sorts of things, this is the only game I'm aware of that's anywhere near good quality and worth playing now. Basically, you take a team of adventurers into a dungeon, you adventure, you slay some stuff, you have a lot of fun. Think D&D but more old school game mechanics, so don't expect a Dragon Age equivalent or something similar. But there's still a lot of fun to be had with this genre, so if you like this sort of game, take a look at it and you might just like it. And if you've never played this genre before, have a look, you never know. You might find a new genre that you just love. Okay, back to the present now. We're looking at the Council Complete Season. It was released in 2018 and makes it 2 years old, and it's on a good discount for 74% off for £5.19. This game is an episodic interactive mystery. The game's main character visits a manor looking for his missing mother, which is full of interesting characters from history such as George Washington and Napoleon Bonaparte. The game is a narrative adventure in the same vein as Telltale games such as The Wolf Among Us or The Walking Dead series. The one thing that makes this game stand out though is the additional systems you don't find in the others. It has a class system which you can pick for your character, which gives you certain traits and abilities. Some are positive, some are negative. And there's also an RPG system to it where you can rank up different skills or talents, which will affect your options available to you throughout the story. The rest of the game is pretty straightforward. You follow the story, you make decisions, the story branches, there are different endings. But I have to say, the whole story, for this price, with these new interesting systems, makes this my star buy. Now I know you're thinking that's a bit of a weird game for this choice, but It's really cheap, it's really good. The additional systems make it genuinely different and interesting compared to the others in the genre. I would say if you like any games made by Telltale, or FMV style games, you should at least look at this because it's probably a lot of fun for you. Definitely one to check out. As I said, it's my star buy. Whether you like these games or not, you can't ignore that it's a great deal. We're going way into the future with the next game, the Surge 2 Premium Edition. It was released this year, so it's less than a year old. That's crazy. It's on a 66% discount for $16.99, which as you know, isn't crazy cheap, but hear me out. This Premium Edition includes the story expansion The Kraken, which is worth $7.99 plus a load of weapon and armor sets. So half this game's price is the DLC that's included, which makes it worth looking at least. It's basically a Souls-like game, but set in a sci-fi futuristic setting. And although it's a sequel, it takes place a while after the first game and follows a different character completely. So you're not missing out on too much, but you definitely could find out more by playing the first game if you wanted to. The gameplay is typical of Souls-like games. It's melee based and extremely difficult, with multiple difficulties if you want it even more difficult. Basically, I would say if you like Souls-like games, but you like the aesthetic of sci-fi more, this is essential for you. And you get a good chunk of DLC with this package. So if that sounds good to you, take a look, pick it up, have fun. The next couple of games have a few versions on sale, so make sure you pick up the right one. Warhammer Chaos Bane Magnus Edition is the first one. It was released in 2019, so it's only a year old, and it's on a 70% discount for £19.49, which is pretty high. I know that's what you're thinking. Cheapskates like this channel. Why would we buy a game worth nearly £20? Well, it includes nearly £16 worth of DLC, which is 2/3 of the price. These DLC include additional chapters for the story, an additional skill tree system, so there's really a lot of content included in those DLCs. The game in general is a third-person isometric action-adventure game, sort of like the old Baldur's Gate games, or the more recent Diablo games. So if you like that hack-and-slash gameplay, you'll love this. Or if you're a Warhammer fan, you'll probably like this just because it's Warhammer. All in all, I'd say, if you're a Warhammer fan, or you really like this genre, considering the amount of DLC included, it's worth looking at this if that sounds good to you. The final game in this sale is another Warhammer game. This time it's Vermintide II Ultimate Edition. Again, this has multiple versions on sale, make sure you're picking up the right one. It was released in 2018, which makes it 2 years old. It's got a 60% discount for £17.99. Again, this is another not that cheap price, but the reason I didn't pick the cheaper version that was on the Ultimate Edition is this includes over £16 worth of DLC, including 5 new levels and some other cosmetic stuff. That's a whole lot of content for this game, and the DLC price is basically the same and they're charging for the whole package, so it really makes this edition worth getting more than the others. Vermintide 2 is basically a Left 4 Dead clone, but set in the Warhammer universe, and it being melee-based combat. All in all, I would say if you're not a Warhammer fan, you're probably not dying to get this game at this price, even with the DLC that's included. So if you like the idea of hack-and-slash 4-player co-op with your friends, especially if you're a Warhammer fan, you should consider it. It's a decent package at a decent price. Okay, so that's all the games I have for you for the PS Plus double discount sale. What do you think of my choices? Should I recommend something else? Did I miss something? Do you agree with my star buy? Do you think all the games I picked are rubbish? Chuck your arguments in the comments and I'll get round to them at some point. Anyway guys, I hope you found some games and I hope you saved some money. I'll see you guys in the next video.